الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وسندنا ومولانا محمد عبده ورسوله ألف ألف صلاة وألف ألف سلام عليك يا رسول الله ألف ألف صلاة وألف ألف سلام عليك يا حبيب الله ألف ألف صلاة وألف ألف سلام عليك يا من نبي الله. What is the purpose and aim of saying Allah is with those who patiently persevere? So from the 23rd letter, what is the purpose and aim of saying Allah is with those who patiently persevere? What's the persevere mean? What's the difference? Why can't you say Allah is with those who are patient, for example? Could have easily said that. But they patiently persevere. Master of English? Yes?
What, right?
Work hard.
Persevere. Why would the words persevere be added?
That's right. Same there.
Engaged, continuation.
Continuously be patient.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So there's patience and there's
Continuous.
continued engaged patience. So the level of your patience is going to be tested on how long that patience is going to last for, isn't it? So Allah is with those who patiently persevere. In other words, your patience is pushed to the limit and you're still patient, and then it's pushed to another limit and you're still patient, and it's pushed to another limit and you're still patient. The perseverance of this, now Allah is with those people. Another verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the verse, He says, Allah loves the patient ones, those who are patient, right? As required by His name All-Wise, Allah Almighty placed in all things an arrangement like steps of stairs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in everything that He creates, in everything that changes, transforms, becomes, gets perfected, right? Elevates, all of the steps, in everything there are steps. There are steps of what we call slow deliberation. Do you see a little baby and then the baby just becoming an adult? No. Everything through slow deliberation. The child, their head grows, their ears grow, their eyes, whatever, like, the whole body starts to develop slowly, internally, externally. All of the development is done by slow deliberation. When you put a seed in the floor, does a plant come up with fruit straight away? No. It gives out, right? It gives out shoots, and then it comes up, and then the stalk becomes stronger, and then it becomes the bark, the tree, the flowers giving out. It takes over periods of time, doesn't it? So why is this period of time given for everything in life? If this is the common law of the universe, that everything is done by slow deliberation. If you want to make bread, you have to put the seed into the ground, you have to wait for the wheat to grow, then you go to harvest the wheat, it goes on and on, right? Then you've got to take it to the person who's going to knead it into dough and then bake it. These are all different processes that must go through in order that the final product becomes what it is. Now, an impatient man does not act with slow deliberation. So the person who's impatient wants to jump from one step to another step, and then jump from that step to the 4th, 5th and 10th step all at once, without that deliberation of doing things in stages. And so either he skips some of the steps and he falls, or leaves some deficient, and he cannot mount to the roof of his goal. So this is my goal up here. I'm going to climb to the 20th, let's say 20th staircase, right? But from the bottom to the top, there's all steps. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, you climb. What does the impatient person do? He wants to jump 5 at a time, 6 at a time, right? a person who is impatient does not act with slow deliberation, then they will not achieve their goal. Thus, greed is the cause of loss. Greed is the cause of loss. Why? Because you're trying to achieve something. You're missing out all the steps in which to be able to achieve that goal that you're trying to achieve. If you miss the stairs or the steps, right, what's going to happen? You're going to fall, and not only that, you're not even going to be able to achieve what you want, what you endeavored to achieve in the first place. So greed causes loss. Patience, however, is the key to all difficulties, and the saying is, the greedy is subject to disappointment and loss.
Wow.
The greedy is subject to disappointment and loss, and there's a hadith that says, patience is the key to happiness. I had all the kids memorize this, all the young kids when they came. He asked Hakan, I mean all the boys, just say, patience is, and they'll tell you straight away. Patience is the key to happiness. This has become a proverb, like a proverb. That is to say, Allah Almighty's grace and favor is with the patient people. So what is this patience? Why is Allah with those that are patient? Because in everything that is created in this universe, Allah does in steps. Allah does in stages. Allah does in progress of things. In everything it's created is exactly like that. The only thing is that human beings are very unique creatures, and they like to jump steps. And because they like to jump steps, they miss out on many things, and the final outcome of their goal is not really ever achieved, or even if it is achieved, it is deficient to what it should be. It's not perfected. But patience is of threefold. So there's three types of patience. Did you know that, Brother Kevin? Did you know that there was three different types? Yeah, three types of patience. One is the patiently persevering one. It is to refrain from sin. Patient to refrain from sin. What's that called in Arabic? Taqwa, we call it taqwa. Try and not to do the wrong things, and to obey Allah and do the right things. So the part of staying away from haram, staying away from sins and the wrong things, it's a form of patience. How much patience do you need not to commit haram, a sin? Sometimes. How hard? Sometimes it feels for the person on a personal level at a particular time in certain circumstances and certain situations, it's almost, you feel like it's almost impossible not to do that haram. Overwhelming emotional feelings or hormones or whatever it might be that's pushing the person to do the wrong thing. And then in your ear, the devil is talking in your ear, telling you should do this, you should do this. And all of the atmosphere around you, all the haram around you, especially like some place like Surface Paradise, telling you, come do this wrong thing. And then your nafs wants it anyway, your desires want that wrong thing anyway. And you have illusions and all these fantasies and all these things in your mind that are deceiving you towards that wrong thing also. So how much perseverance and patience would you need to stay away from that haram? To stay away from that sin? Amazing, right? Maybe that's why Allah says that Allah is with those who patiently persevere, because of the difficulty in perseverance in that patience. Imagine like I make a decision not to do something wrong. Okay, I didn't do it. But 10 minutes later I did. First point was I was patient, but I wasn't persevering in my patience, because 10 minutes later I did do that thing
Or a
day later, whatever. So this persistent and perseverance is that you keep on being patient. not to do the wrong thing. That's the first type of patience. And Allah says, Allah is with those who fear Him and they restrain themselves. That's in Surah Baqarah 194. The second type of patience is the patience in the face of calamity. We all think about this one most of the times. Patience in the face of calamity. You become sick. I'll be patient. Some misfortune falls on you, befalls you. Become patient. Right? So stress, negative things that happen in your life, the person is being patient against those things that are as though charging at him, charging at them. All these negativities, charging, stress, people become depressed, they run, the person hasn't got money, right, out of work or whatever, the marriage breakups or whatever. The person has got difficulties and stresses and problems in their lives. Now this second patience that we're talking about, in the face of these type of calamities, is to place one's trust in Allah. Place your trust in Allah and submit to Him. To give yourself to Him. It is to be honored by the manifestation of these verses, which says, Allah loves the patient one.
Let me ask you about that.
Allah loves those also who put their trust in Him.
So the first one is, the first patience is
Perseverance of patiently persevering against staying away from sins.
staying away from sin is the first patience.
Yes. Second patience is in the face of calamities and all the negativity that might happen in your life, right? To be patient against that. And Allah sends a verse saying Allah loves the patient, meaning this type of patience. In the face of calamities, those who can be patient.
Can you give me an example for that?
But
Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, they ask about patience. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, patience is the first sign of your reflex when something bad happens to you. He gives that's one of the examples. Let's say, what's your first response? Somebody says, oh, your father died, I'm really sorry. How do you react? How do you feel? Are you going to be patient? Are you going to say, why? Why did this happen to me? Or something bad happened personally in your own life, whatever it might be, right? When something very negative, very powerfully wrong has befallen on you, how do you react? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, your first response is the true response of how patient that you are. Your first response is the true response. Later on people go, astaghfirullah, I didn't really mean to say, why me? I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to complain. I didn't mean, yes, you didn't mean. But if you had enough patience in the first place, then you wouldn't have said it, or you wouldn't have done those things at the time of anger, at the time of feeling depressed, at the time of feeling that you're faced with some, unbearable calamity.
So
But
why
we
is it
already
good
know
to be
that
patient, though?
you have to be patient.
So why is it good to be patient, though? There's obviously a reason behind being patient.
Well, because,
It's a good
like you
one.
said, if something happens to you, that's my opinion, something happens, some calamity. If you lose it at that moment and get up and try to work it out, you might get in more trouble and make the situation worse for yourself and for someone else. Let's say somebody says to you, oh, your dad had a car accident. If you jump in the car and drive 300 k's an hour to get to the hospital,
You probably die before
you'll probably have an accident yourself. But if you
It
go,
actually
alright,
happened.
fair enough, he had okay, let me see, stop, call someone, uncle,
Allah does
you know
things
what I
for
mean?
a reason.
Yeah,
That's it.
being patient is your actual test of it, though.
That's right.
And how you handle it.
That's exactly right. So we come into this earth, if you really want to go to that depth, alright? We come to the earth, we're being tested. We've been being tested on how we're going to respond to things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throws at us certain calamities, certain problems, illnesses, things, right? These things upon us. And He is testing how we will respond. And if we respond with patience, then that means we are developing ourselves to becoming a better person in our own selves anyway. So the patience is for us, a development, a betterment of ourselves. How is a person who, in comparison, right? Someone says something and you're a very reactive person. Straight away, you become negatively reactive and you go, what are you talking about? What's wrong with you? Why'd you say that to me? And you just keep nagging and nagging. It's like, it's not a very good character to have. But imagine the same thing was said to this brother, and in response, instead of being negatively, responding, if he said, that's okay, look, just be calm, let's talk about this. For example, right? Now, that shows a development of a character. It shows a higher character, doesn't it, than the person who's just reactive to what is being said. So, 1, it is to develop our own selves. 2, it is that we are being tested. And 3, or if we are being tested, what are we being tested for? Like what is a test? The test is, are you going to be patient? Alright, Khan, what is the opposite of patience? It's impatience. What does the impatient person do? He starts complaining. He starts complaining, does he? What else? He
acts on impulse.
He acts on impulse. So if the person is reacting and and he realizes that it's God that gives calamity also, correct? He gives the calamity, he gives everything, whatever he wants, he does whatever. It's his dominion, he does what as he wishes. If he wants to test us by making us ill, for example. Now if we complain, who are we complaining about? We're complaining about the one who gave it to us. We're complaining about Allah. Hasha astaghfirullah. So patience makes sure that we don't have a complaint against the one who's so merciful and loving really towards us, but he's only testing us. So it allows us to be patient, to be able to persevere what's happening, and to develop ourselves and become better in ourselves.
Patience normally gives you a delayed, it sounds like because you're being patient, you get a delayed response for something sometimes, like maybe like the result of whatever you're looking for if you're patient normally, because it says about this slow deliberation, right?
Mm.
So everything happens slowly. Like Khan was saying, can you give me an example? In his life, he had a situation, for instance, where he went to school and there was a kid that, he was arguing with all the time. If Khan wanted, he probably could have hurt him, but we decided, himself to decided that, look, we'll just try and let the system deal with him until 1 week ago or something. The kid got expelled from school, you know what I mean? Mm. So he could have taken the things into his own hands and work on impulse, and he would have been probably expelled. God knows, maybe his whole life would have changed because of that particular situation. Sure or not? He might have done one punch right there and then. Huh?
That's why I use the word reflective.
Reflective?
Yeah. Like as in, when someone does something to you, straight away you respond back, like reflex.
Oh, reflex, yeah.
Right? Like reflective, like you're reflecting on what someone is saying.
Reflecting, I was thinking like contemplating, but reacting.
Reacting.
So he didn't react, and he's like, okay, I want to try and do the right thing by whoever, maybe Allah, his parents, whatever.
Yeah.
And now he got the result that he wanted. If he had worked on impulse,
because it's slow deliberation. It takes longer.
It takes longer, but you get a better result.
It feels like it's never going to end, especially when these negative things are happening in your life. You think it's never going to finish.
Yeah. But like for instance, you were at one stage. I'll give you another one. One stage you had a problem with your mum. If you had said, "I don't want to see you again," you would have broken all ties. But why were you patient? Time. Now what did happen? Like that
Patience
impulse that you could have done, and I'm just giving him an example because he asked me from his own life, because I know him, I can. That impulse would have done what? It would have severed the ties and probably ruined things. That's impulse. Right. So you got to try not to be so.
Yeah, patience is a delayed reward, basically.
Yeah, it's a deliberation. So from then it's a delayed
slow deliberation.
And sometimes it's a reward straight away too. But like you probably think to yourself, I'll give you an example. Like right at that point of time, you think, oh, I should have just knocked him out. But maybe you try to knock him out, you slip, you hurt yourself. Even you not doing that, or maybe he hit you back.
Well, it's a reward immediately. It just depends when you start to see it.
It's a delayed result.
But that also has taught you to be patient. It's developed you. Now, if something else happens in your life, you know that if you do react in the manner that you did with patience and perseverance, then the outcome, inshallah, in the future will be that maybe it might take a little bit of time, but at the end, you will get a good result.
And
out
it's
of
interesting
your
too,
patience.
perseverance. Sorry to cut you off a bit, Albert.
Right.
Perseverance side, like giving him an example, this kid was on doing all the time, you know, it wasn't one day. Okay, maybe he was patient the first day, and the second day, maybe next week, third week, 8 weeks. This went on for a while, maybe 2 or 3 months, eh? So it's persevering in your patience, you know, every day he's doing something else.
Yes,
And then we're telling him, no, don't do that, go over there, don't play in the same place anymore, move to your place, go. Don't hang with these people anymore, hang with these guys. So like it's a persevering patience too.
Yes, yes.
But then it pays off at the end too. Yeah,
But as for impatient, it amounts to complaining about God.
that's the most.
This is the worst
Critical.
part of it. The critical part is this. Once you start becoming impatient, you start complaining. And who you complaining about? It's the one that's giving you that testing. He's testing your patience, and when your patience is not sufficient enough, you start to complain. You're complaining about Allah, and to criticize Allah's actions, accusing His mercy, and not liking Allah's wisdom. For sure man is weak and powerless, and he weeps complainingly at the blows of misfortunes, but his complaint must be to Allah, not about Allah. His complaint must be to Allah, about his misfortune, not against Allah.
Yeah, what's he gonna give you? Allah.
Why did Allah do
What are you
this
gonna
to
get out of
me?
it?
Why did he do that? And you start complaining about things. Who are you complaining
rebelling
about?
again.
The one that is testing you, he was testing your patience in the first place. And now you're complaining
The one that can get
as
you out
though
of that
someone is
problem.
going to be able to help you against God in the first place.
The one that can actually help you in that.
The one that
situation.
the only one that can really help you in that circumstance, in that situation, you're complaining against him.
It's true, actually. Now that you think of it.
But you know what it is like. The thing is, that let's say for instance, the situation with Palestine and Israel. That's what always gets me thinking and patience and stuff like that and all that stuff. Like I'm looking at it from both point of view. Like let's say the Jews, for instance. You know, they're attacking these people.
Yeah, yeah.
And anyway, no, and anyway, the things work out towards that. So
Yeah.
they might feel, look, we're on the right path because we're winning the war, our country's getting bigger, these people are losing, even the Muslim world is not behind them, they're losing, support, they're losing everything, this and that. We got this Palestinian, they've been patient, you know what I mean, and all around them, and slowly, they're just losing more and more and more. So it makes you think, like they've been patient, obviously, I can see it from one point of view. They've been patient, this world doesn't matter, they might get rewarded hereafter, whatever. But from the perspective, when you're looking in the outside, other people that don't know the situation, just because of the situation that's happening, they might think that their ways are right against this.
From the outside, sometimes on an apparent face of it, it may look like because let's say for example, somebody is doing the wrong things and they're making a lot of money, and on the face value of it, all the guys become very rich. So him by doing all these wrong things looks like, look what this person has achieved. But if your measure is money, then yes, okay, it looks like he's winning. But if your measure is integrity, honor, and doing the right thing, and righteousness, and pleasing God, and not doing the wrong thing, and not being punished later on, then no, that person who's doing all the wrong things to achieve something is not winning. So they're losing. So what you're saying is, in this worldly life, if they look like they have a little bit more land, or they have a little bit more money, or they kill a few more people, do they look like they're more successful? Maybe they do on the face value of it. But in terms of their existence and who they are, what they come into this world for, and where they're going, the people that are all being killed, they've been shaheeds, they become martyrs. So they're going to a happier place according to them. So who's winning and who's losing? If one is doing it wrong and gets punished for it later on, postponed punishment, something like hellfire, for example, and someone who is being patient, okay, and the wrong things are being done to them, but at the end is ending up in Jannat, on the face value of it for a short period of time, they might look like they're succeeding. But in the long period, they're not succeeding. You know what I'm saying? So
and
that's
not only that, we were saying that, remember he said, and we were explaining it before, is that slow deliberation.
yeah.
When you're patient, construction takes time, destruction is easy. These people are destroying things. At the moment, it looks like they're winning because they're destroying. But construction takes time, so you got to give things time to. In time to come, you look and you go, oh, subhanallah. You know what I mean? This happened.
There
Like
is
maybe so many people now understood because of this little war. Maybe we lost 10,000 people. But a lot of people seeing the oppression. Like I've seen it through everywhere. It's like, my goodness. So that there, like, for instance, you look like, back in the days, I remember an example, it looked like the Ottoman Empire lost the war. But they lost the war and now we're in Australia. We would never be in Australia. We're in Australia because Turkey was in a, in a situation where now we're here. You would never be in Australia. Looked like in Bosnia there was a real bad war. And now your children are going to teach Islam here, you're going to live Islam here. So was that war bad?
Yeah,
A lot of those boys,
the
it
war
looked
maybe
bad, didn't it? But
yeah.
when we look
The
at the overall
face of
picture,
things,
maybe
a
in
lot of things
1,000
look
years'
ugly.
time, or
Right.
600 years' time, and all of Australia
That's right.
becomes, Islamic country, like more
That's right.
majority Islam, and a lot of people convert to Islam. And was that a good war, or was it a bad war? I mean, we don't know the outcome too, so you got to wait and
Yeah,
see.
so what happens to us from the outside always looks ugly, but when you look at wisdom and over time, and then you judge it, then you go, oh, okay, that was obvious, it's a wrong thing, it's evil act, and all these bad things are happening, but behind the badness even, does goodness arise, from all the mud and that, does beautiful flowers start to come out, and fruit-bearing trees after a massive winter, and rain, and you got thunderstorms, and next minute you see things flowering everywhere. Springtime comes about. So yes, it looks like rainy, thunderous times that people go through, but after that, maybe inshallah, good
Some
things
people
will come
rebel
from.
too. Let's say Syria against the Jews, for instance. Now, if the Syrians do what the Jews are doing in this place, let's say the Jews are attacking Syrian innocent people. What happens? All over the media they're saying, oh, they killed innocent people, children died, blah, blah, blah. They got tarnished in it. Now, if the Syrians aren't patient and they do the same thing, let's say, if they're patient, what happens? They win, because people go, look, these guys aren't doing anything wrong, blah, blah, blah. But if they're not patient and they go to attack innocent people, for instance, what's going to happen?
They're going to be condemned.
Unfortunately, fascism paid in the case of Muslims.
It should be like, when we're complaining, we should be
Always pays.
complaining.
You know why it always pays? There was one man 1400 years ago against the whole world, bro.
Yeah.
And now we're the largest religion on the face of the planet.
One of
We are the largest religion
Yeah.
on the face of the planet. Yeah, we
them.
are.
Yeah.
The largest living.
According to
largest
Australia,
growing.
no, we are the actual largest religion too. Two something,
Yeah,
2
one,
point something.
as a one group, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bad.
So, but of course, the Christianity is very close too, and with Christianity they put all of them together as well. Some of them aren't actually. Anyway, long story short, there's one man not long ago. Now look what's happened. So don't think that our patience is not working. Of course, it's working.
Yeah.
And
It should be in the patience. When we talk about patience, we should complain about our situation to Allah, and not against Allah. It should be done like Jacob, Yaqub alayhi salam, where he said, I only complain my distraction, my distresses, and my anguish to Allah, not against Allah, to Allah. That is to say, he should complain to God, not cry, saying, what have I done to deserve this? Why is this happening to me? Instead of saying that, as though complaining to human beings about God. To excite the sympathy of impotent humans is harmful and meaningless. Oh, look what God has done to me, I'm going to explain to you. Powerless person, impotent people, I'm complaining my situation to people who can't help me. Right? And I'm looking for sympathy from them. It's meaningless. The third sort of patience is patience and perseverance in worship. Which raises a person to the station of being beloved of Allah. Patience in worship. So how do you become patient in your worship?
Do it slowly, do it on time. Take, reflect.
It urges a person toward perfect worship of God. In other words, to fulfill the duty of your existence on this earth, to worship Allah in the manner that He deserves. And to do that is one of the hardest patience also. If you're standing there, alright, let's say you decided, like, I'm going to pray. Okay? 5,000 things in your mind. Quick, finish your fast. You got to go here, you got to telephone calls, you got business to take care of, you got the kids to pick up, you got your wife's going to call you. Do you ever get to pray comfortably? You say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I'm just going to pray slowly. When's the last time you ever done it? Be honest with yourself. Never ever.
Never.
See the patience we're talking about here? Allahu
It's one of
Akbar.
the hardest patience.
Patience and perseverance in your worship. Sometimes I'll push myself, let's say, and I say, okay, I'm going to stay another 5 seconds at least another 5 more seconds, or 10 more seconds in this position, and then contemplate. So hard. I know the kids are praying behind you. You've got to pray fast so that they don't get bored. This happened, that happened. The food is being cooked. There's a show on. There's this, there's that. There's so many thousand different excuses that always stops us from praying properly. So if the devil can't stop you from praying, he will stop you as much as he can from praying properly. And then even when you are praying, and you're spending a little bit, like 1 or 2 minutes at least to pray, he comes into your head, and as you're praying, while you're praying, he makes you think about 1,000 other things anyway. So at least if we can stretch out the prayer a little bit longer, he might give us at least like another 1 second or 2 seconds extra to be able to appreciate God.
I think patience in prayer could mean, because it's 5 daily prayers, like you've got forever in your mind too. Like, okay,
Yes.
that's patience too. I'm going to do my 5 daily prayers, even if you do it quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
I want to do it every morning for the rest of my life. You have to be patient, bro. You have to go, okay, no. Alright, get out of bed, like just when you're peeling yourself out of bed, you've got to be patient.
Summer, winter, autumn,
Doesn't matter, it
spring,
needs
doesn't
to
matter
be
which part of the country you are, doesn't matter if you're in the middle of a shopping centre, it doesn't matter if you're in the middle of the street somewhere. The prayer time is about to finish. You're going to pray, you're going to pray anywhere,
patience.
everywhere. It's all about patience, patience and perseverance. And this urges a person towards perfect worship of Allah, of God, and being a servant to Him, which is the most elevated station. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم.